guys, welcome back to Reinvented. Today we have Gina. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Gina Ramsey, and I do a lot of everything. I'm a social worker by trade, a full-time social worker. But about 23 years ago, I decided that I would like to write a book. And I finally accomplished that dream this year. In May, I released my first book and found through doing the author process of writing and the publishing and the whole process was just amazing to me. And so that's my other career.
So what's it like being an author?
Yeah, it's, I would say it's a labor of love. It's, it takes a lot of time for edits and different things. And I publish through a hybrid publisher, but still it requires edits and looking at the cover designs and evaluating all of that and really being able to write the stories to where I bring my reader next to me in those moments and not just telling these stories. But yeah, I'm a humor writer, so love bringing joy to people's lives and stuff. And so, yeah, the process was pretty remarkable, just learning all the steps that go into writing and publishing a book. And then what do you do afterwards? The marketing piece. I'm the face of my stuff, so I have to get out there and spend time and meet my ideal readers.
And being a humor writer, do you find that you try to bring yourself to it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. My stories are actual stories that have happened in my life, and so they're some folks refer to it as Murphy's Law scenarios. So if it'll happen to me. And so I found that through the years, I would tell my stories to people and they're like, oh my gosh, your stories are hilarious. You should write a book one day. And so, yeah, I find that really much easier to write. I've not tried writing fiction. I don't think I ever want to give that a whirl. I really hats off to people who can create a story and a storyline and the characters, and I think that takes an amazing amount of talent. With me, my characters and everybody are there. The scenarios have already happened, so I find that writing those stories was really pretty easy. So
yeah, I think a lot with fiction writers, they have to kind of make it up as they go. Just in their head, it's an idea in their head first. I think that at least that's for me. I don't know about everyone else, but
yeah, I've spoken with fiction writers, and the fiction writers that I've spoken with say that they learn about the characters and the characters evolve as they're writing the story, and so it's just really, it sounds like a really interesting process. And I don't know that I want to delve into it.
And then, career-wise, what has been, maybe your biggest struggle or maybe just something you've struggled with? Maybe not a big one, but...
Yeah. I think juggling so many hats, right? So, the everyday life stuff and... working full time and now becoming an author and having to schedule things and book signings and all of this stuff. And then I'm going to be releasing my next book this year. And so working with the publisher on that. And so it's a lot of moving parts all at the same time. And I wouldn't say I'm the most organized person in the world, but you know what? When those deadlines come, I'm able to meet them and I make it happen. It just takes a lot of tenacity and just willpower to just, you just got to keep going and go full force. So, and that's what I would recommend to anyone who's doing writing, and don't quit your day job because you're going to need that money to publish.
So, like, in terms of, like, you know, when telling someone, like, don't quit your day job, do you ever, like, I guess maybe, did you ever, like, see yourself doing this? And did you ever think, like, maybe I could quit my day job at some point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So regardless if you, like, publish as, like, like you publish independently and don't use a publisher, you're still, like, wanting to invest monies in the cost of you know, getting good editors on board, and then getting a designer who does really good with cover design, because that's, like, going to be your most important pieces. So you're still investing money into it. I found through the writing process how much I love this community, and the writing community, and how much I love all the processes that go into this. So I think that maybe I could do this full time at this point. That's not feasible because I want to put so much more into it. And the other thing I'm working on currently is possibly doing a podcast to have people find the funny. You add on other services besides just doing writing books and putting the books out there. So yeah, and I just got my certificate in humor therapy, so I might be working with folks in that capacity as well. So it'll all come together, but right now I'm just doing both and making it work.
And then also, like, going back to earlier, said you have, like, so many, like, hats. Did you ever have maybe, like, people tell you, like, why can't you just stick to, like, one thing? Mm-hmm. And, like, you know, why are you expanding? Like, why are you trying to expand when you should focus on one thing first and then expand?
Yeah. You know, I think folks need to be aware that there are going to be naysayers. I have a good friend that she just started as a flight attendant. She worked in the medical industry for years, but her dream of becoming a flight attendant was really, like, burning in her soul. And she had a lot of people that told her, like, why would you give up your retirement, and, like, you could retire from this medical center and you'd be well set. And even her mom said, you know, why are you doing this? This does not sound like a good plan. And she listened to her heart and her soul, and she felt that if she didn't do this right now, she would always wonder if she could have ever done it. And that's where I'm at with this. And I feel like with just writing the book, you know, if I don't do this, like, I'm always going to wish I would have, or wondered how it would have turned out. And so I'm just taking it and running with it. I'm not listening to naysayers. I am looking to people who are positive and who are role models, you know, entrepreneurs, and people who did, you know, take the risk and reach for their dreams, or a different career path, and they made it really, really successful. And I think that's really important. A message that people need to have is listen to you and what's really telling you to, and you'll know if it's right for you or not. But if you take a risk, you never know, it could turn out so beautifully for you.
And then, like, also with, like, taking risks, like, you know, like, career-wise, was there ever, like, a moment you were like, I don't know if I want to do this right now? Like, you know, maybe the anxiety, like, kind of holding you back?
Yeah, I would say that was years ago. So I kept saying I'm going to do this book, and one day, so the book is called Burnt Glove Boxes, Embracing Life When It Goes Up in Flames. And I actually did have a glove box door that burnt up. So, and that day I thought, that's going to be the title for my book. So I sat down and I typed up the different story title ideas, and then I wrote it on the front cover of this envelope, big manila, like kind of a folder thing, and I put the table of contents in there. And I carried that around for about 23 years. I took it when I went on vacation, just in case other stories popped up, or in case I might want to start writing the book. But I always wondered, number one, like, okay, so you write this book, then what, right? How do you publish it? How do you go through that process? But that wasn't really a fear that held me back, but I always questioned, like, what next? And somehow, through the years, and it just so happened that, in 2021, a friend of mine who knew I wanted to write a book told me about NaNoWriMo, which is National November Writing Month. And you set a goal to write a novel in the month of November. And I asked her, how much is it? And she said, it doesn't cost anything. You just like set your goals and you start writing. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this. And that's really what got me started. And then I'm part of a women's networking group, and my publisher happens to be a part of my chapter. And so I just asked her if she would be willing to take a look at my transcript and see what she thought. That was the most scariest thing for me because it felt very vulnerable. And I wasn't, I think the stories are funny, my friends, my family, but what's an actual publisher going to say when they take a look at this? And my fear was, never pick up a pen again. Don't do this. Stick with what you're doing. But yeah, I just really feel like life was so busy for me. I was raising kids. They were in sports. We were juggling a business. And so we were doing all this stuff that I didn't make it priority until now. And it's seemingly the people that I needed in my life at this moment to make it happen appeared. So, yeah, that's a long answer.
And then, also, I was gonna say, also going within the vulnerability piece, did it kind of just get hard for you to I guess kind of give it up to someone else and have them kind of critique it? And
yeah, that's a great question. So when I started writing, I signed up for this. Her name is Leslie Leyland Fields, and she does writing classes. And I signed up for a few free sessions of her classes, and then you can sign up for an annual subscription. And so I signed up for that, and she teaches the process to writing, the important things to have in your writing, such as, showing your reader that moment, having them be with you in that moment instead of telling them, this is what happened and then that. And then the importance of having compassion on others through your writing. And then what your reader can take away from your story, an important message. So she used language, because she's trained in this, and so she used language like show, don't tell, and all of these things. So I found that was helpful to me, because when Debbie would send me critiques, I knew, and she would use the same language, because she's trained too. I felt I didn't take it so personally because I already knew the language and what she was talking about. I think had I not taken those classes with Leslie, I may have taken it a little more personally and going, well, you said the stories were good. Why are we switching all this stuff around? Or why are we, I found that I was really responsive to and open to her suggestions because she is a professional in the field.
And then, let's see. So, for you writing, what was there any kind of a books that maybe you read that inspired you to write like your book?
Yeah. First of all, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I love short stories, short inspirational stories. Reader's Digest years ago would have just these short, fun stories from different people. And I like that type of book because I am so busy, and getting into a deep novel, a big thick novel like Harry Potter, I don't like. I can probably do it, but I just I'm so busy that reading a short story and being able to put it down and go do other things that I need to do is a lot easier for me. And some humor writers. So Ellen DeGeneres wrote a book, and her humor is so funny. It's just daily observations and just putting the funny spin on those things. I love that type of humor, just looking at ordinary things and going, or mishaps and going, okay, where can I find the positive in this or the funny part of it? So I really feel like those things are what have driven my type of humor. And then Irma Bombeck, of course, she would look at daily life stuff and again put the funny spin to it.
And who in your life do you think maybe influenced you the most?
Yeah, I would say my dad. My dad he was always joking around and making silly faces and silly comments, and I really feel like he influenced my sense of humor. And then I feel like, my sister and my brother are really driven towards success, and they never gave up, and they kept working hard, and they just did everything they could to be successful in life. And so a few years ago, I wrote to both of them and I said, I want you to know how much impact you've had on my life. And it was so funny because for my brother, it came out of the blue, and he's like, what's going on with you? I don't know if he thought I was dying or something, but I'm like, no, I think it's important for you to know how important you are in my life, and how much of an example that you've set without even probably really knowing. And that's what I would say to anyone. You never know what you're doing in your life that's influencing the next person and giving them hope and motivation,
And giving people, I guess, hope and motivation. What would you say to someone maybe that you ran into on the streets? What would you say to them about making their dreams come true?
I would say do that soul searching. What is it that you want to do? I would say write your dreams down. I encourage people to write their bucket list or their dream list, whatever they refer to it as, and tell others that you're going to do it. Because there's a really big piece of that if you're saying it to others and you're writing it down, you're already believing that it's yours, and you're more than likely to do those things. I've even done that with vacation destinations. And then the other component that I would say is surround yourself with positive people who are going to uplift you and not drag you down. And don't listen to the naysayers. You can hear what they're saying, but believe in yourself and surround yourself with people who also can be supportive to you and help believe in you, that your dream is possible.
And then what would you say to someone who I guess maybe has a lot of that negativity in their life, and just because of it doesn't believe in themselves? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's imposter syndrome. We all have it. I maybe Tony Robbins doesn't. I don't know. But I think we all have that voice because he had gone through like a bad childhood, it sounds like. So I'm sure he's dealt with it as well. But we all have that negative inner voice that tells us that you can't do this, or what if you try, and what if this happens, or that, your mind wants to go to that negativity. It's silencing that, because that voice, that naysayer, in therapy we call it like monsters on a bus, right? These monsters, those are your negative voices, and they get on your bus, and they're not going to get off. They're on your bus for eternity, but you're the driver of that bus, and so it's just saying, okay, just that voice came up and it said you can't do it, but you just be quiet, you sit back there, I'm the driver of this bus, and I'm going to keep driving forward, which is, writing your things down, surrounding yourself with people who are like, you can do this, this is possible, X, Y, and Z, I can connect you with these people. And yeah, and I would say, like, reach out to, if you're really in those spots where you just can't come out of that, definitely seek out professional help for that, to help to onboard tools that can help you to learn how to silence those negative voices.
And who is someone you admire most?
Walt Disney.
Yeah,
Walt
I can see that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He went through so many different, and I would say my model of what I'm doing right now is exactly him. So, when he started, building his parks, and his brother's we don't have the money to, what you're wanting to do equals this amount of money, and we don't have that. And he's like, well, I'll just figure it out because we're doing it. And so, and that's kind of, I'm not out there spending frivolously, but at the same time, I've got this mindset, it's going to work, we're going to figure it out, but in order to be successful, I have to just keep pushing forward. And that's what he did, and he was hugely successful with his movies and theme parks.
And then what kind of goals do you think you're pursuing right now?
Oh, gosh. Well, one goal that I'm pursuing right now is figuring out, well, first of all, getting the second book written. Secondly, we're going to start an anthology with the books. So it's going to be similar to Chicken Soup for the Soul, but people will be able to submit their Burnt Glove Box stories, their Murphy's Law stories. My ultimate goal with anything that I'm doing with all of this is to bring joy to our world. Our world is in so much need of happiness and joy, and just if it gets somebody to smile, I've been successful, and that's what my goal has been the entire time with this. There's a huge connection with laughter and positivity and well-being, mental well-being and physical well-being, and that's my ultimate overall arching goal, is to help people with their health and well-being through the gift of laughter and joy.
And then I guess getting people to kind of I guess see happier moments in their life. What is one way do you think you're tackling that, maybe other than just writing?
Yeah. I think because I've had people ask me well, in those moments when those things were happening, were you laughing? Were you finding the funny at that moment? And no, absolutely not. That is something that I'm learning to do. in the moment when something crazy is happening, okay, I'll start writing those things down because there's funny in this. There's funny. I can put a funny spin into this, even if it's the irony of like thing after thing after thing happening. So, yeah, I think that is being able to just take a step back, and it might not be in that moment. It likely won't be if you're having like craziness. You know, I was just talking to my husband this morning. We had a flight, our very first flight, that went awry. Like all of our flights have been perfect, blah blah blah. Last year or the year before last actually, we were flying back from Key West, and anything and everything that could go wrong, and the plane didn't crash or anything, so I guess not everything went wrong, but it was like thing after thing. I even tripped on an escalator and like slammed down with my luggage and like busted up my arm, and like I was crying, right? So in that moment I'm like, this is not funny. But then taking a step back, I'm able to like connect those dots and go, oh, this was funny about it, and that was funny, you know? So yeah, I think it's possible. I think that with writing, with anything, it takes practice, right? You don't just go into algebra and know how to do algebra. You have to practice and practice and practice. And it's same with writing. It's same with being able to have that outlook in life where, okay, you know, this wasn't so bad. Like, everybody's still healthy. You know, no one died, or whatever the scenario is. You know, looking at the positives. And I think that takes practice to do.
And then, like, also kind of like, you know, with like practicing, would you say there was like any like hard moments when you're like, I just don't know if this is like, I want to continue?
As far as continue with
Like,
writing the book, or?
Yeah, like just kind of continuing the journey.
Yeah. You know, I'll be honest. I've only had a couple of those moments where it's like, so tired. I'm so tired. And that's, you know, and it's from doing a lot. But, you know, I take those moments and go, okay, like, you're exhausted. I don't want to go into that space in my head because I feel like I'm having such a positive influence on others with what I'm doing that when I get to those moments where I'm like, I don't know, I'm so tired, and is the next book going to do all right? And, you know, the what ifs type of thing. I try to bring myself back to that grounded scenario. Like, we can look at the past things and be so focused on the would have, should have, could haves of the past versus learning from the things that maybe didn't go so well and learning from the things that went really well and then taking that forward. Or we can sit and focus on the future and the what ifs of the future. And like, I don't know about you. I know me personally, and I know other people where you start thinking about future and the what ifs, and like you've now created this huge story in your head, you know, and sometimes it's like you're crying, kind of, you're getting weepy because you're like, oh my gosh, that's horrible, you know, and it's like you just made up a whole scenario in your head that might not even happen, right? So I think the important thing is being in the present moment. And for folks who are listening who don't understand that or have never heard of that, it's called mindfulness. And so it's like being in the here and now. My body needs some rest. I think I'm just going to lay down and, you know, watch a funny movie with my husband. Or I'm going to just sit outside for a little bit and just watch the birds and listen to the sounds I'm hearing around me, being in the present moment here and now, not focusing on that stuff from the past or stuff in the future, and allowing your body time to rest. I find that when I'm feeling like less hopeful, it's when I'm really exhausted. And so I've cued into that with my body. And for everybody, that might be something different. I mean, we've all seen the Snickers commercial, you know, the guy that's hangry, and he's like a complete mess because he needs food, right? He gets a Snickers bar and he's so happy. And don't eat Snickers all the time. That's probably not good for your body. But being able to cue into your body and what is it that your body's needing at that moment? Why am I feeling so negative? Why am I feeling so exhausted or whatever? And knowing those signs.
And like when you start getting into that, like, I guess really exhausted like state where you're just kind of like maybe not thinking like the straightest, like, you know, for your goals, like what is something that you do to maybe take that step back and be like, okay, I maybe need to relax?
Yeah, that's exactly. You know, it's, again, the monster's on the bus. So it's the monster saying, no, it's too much. You're doing too much and you need to just stop doing all of this stuff. And it's like hearing that and going, okay, what is it? I just need to just take a step back and stop doing this list, because my list is expansive. It's so much stuff, because it's not just the book and my day job. It's all the other things, you know, the house cleaning and the, you know, grocery shopping and caring for an aging parent. And so it's all the stuff, right? And then the financial. So knowing what brings me joy, that is sitting with my family and watching a funny flick. Going out and getting something to eat, just running out to the restaurant and doing, you know, even if it's a cheap meal, which is not cheap anymore. McDonald's is even like way out there, but just allowing myself to step away from the list, and then I can come back to it with fresh eyes. And that's what's been helpful to me.
And like with like fresh eyes, is it like, for you, is it just like, okay, I took that step back, now I can kind of go back into the now?
Yeah. And you know, for those of us who are creative minds, like if you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, like your creativity kind of like just goes out the window. And then it feels like you're taking a square peg and putting it in a round hole. You're like trying to figure out like, how do I do this? Or why can't I think of this story? Like, why won't this story come together? And I think it's just allowing yourself space to decompress, especially if you're super busy and you've got a lot going on, and the ideas will come to you. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of a simple answer, but in a simple tool, but it's not always, life isn't always simple, and it's just trying to do what's best in that moment and cueing into what your needs are. I think the big thing is just stepping away for a little bit. It's kind of like when people are in an argument, right? And they keep going at it and keep going at, you know, and it just keeps getting more and more heated, versus stepping away from each other for a little bit, and then you can like calm down and be able to, you know, come to some type of agreement. Or, you know, it may be something that you'll never remember the argument, what it was about, you know, the french fry that, you know, your spouse ate or whatever, that was supposed to be yours. So, yeah, life is silly in that way, you know, so.
And like, where'd you go? When did you like first start like learning like about writing, and I guess the whole process to publishing?
Yeah, so I started writing in November of 2021, and then not too long after that is when I signed up for Leslie's classes, and so started learning kind of the more finer fine-tuning details. And then the publishing, I I was done with my transcript in spring of 22. And so then I signed on with Debbie with Highlander Press in the spring. And what's really nice about her being my publisher, she offers these cohorts. So it's a weekly kind of class that the writers that she's going to be publishing that next spring will sit through this weekly class. It's an hour long. And she teaches us about the publishing process, like the now, during, and after, all the steps that we should be considering, or the steps that she's going to be doing. So that was really helpful to learn about that side of things. I know there's some writers who, I have a friend that she decided to become a writer, and now she's doing her own, like, kind of helping other writers publish. That's something that I don't want to do. I'm glad to hook people up with other resources that will be helpful in their journey. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff to know, and I think that for me personally, that was really helpful in, like, signing on with a publishing company, just so because they knew what steps needed to be taken.
And then for anyone watching, do you have any resources for like, you know, I guess wannabe writers or writers to be?
Absolutely. And you know, you can reach out to me if you go to my website, www.ginaramseyauthor.com. You can reach me that way, email me and just say, hey, I've had a few people reach out to me by email and just say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Do you know any resources for this? Any publishing companies? And I know several people that help with publishing and stuff, and so I can give folks a few options for that just to kind of start off with, and just do kind of some little, like, I would say interview somebody who you think you might want to publish with, because you want to make sure that it's the right fit for you. I have another friend who, you know, interviewed with two, and she chose one of them out of the two because she felt it was a better fit for what her writing was. So for everybody, it's going to be different, but I'm willing to answer questions like on, like, the after, like the marketing, the things that I've done that have kind of helped to promote, because that's a huge thing right there, is getting out in front of people. And so yeah, you can email me. I'm also on Facebook, Gina Ramsey Author, or Gina Ramsey 429 actually is what it is. And 429 is significant because that's the day I signed on with my publisher. But yeah, you can reach out to me with a direct message if you have any questions or need any resources. I've got plenty of those.
And what do you, in like your writing, what do you think you've learned about yourself, just like recently?
I've learned to have confidence in myself. And so being in social work, I'm always teaching this, you know, the monsters on the bus thing that I referenced earlier, you know, but I still always had the inner voice. And so having confidence to just get out there and put myself out there and taking the risks. By far, like, this has been the riskiest thing I've ever done. And no, I'm not going to jump out of a plane. That would be even more riskier, and I'm not doing that because we all know how that'll turn out for Gina. It'll be another story that I probably won't write. But yeah, I think the big thing that I've learned about myself is just to have confidence.
And what do you think, like, the best year of, like, your life was?
Mm, I have so many. The years my kids were born, the year I was married, the year that my husband and I renewed our vows, um, the year I published my book. Like, I don't know. We have so many great memories, and I just hang on to all of that with each year that things happen. So I can't pinpoint a specific year.
How about maybe not the worst, but maybe a low point in your life?
Mm. When my dad died, that was in 98. That was really tough for me to get through. But years later, my aunt died. My mom was diagnosed with leukemia. My husband's mom was diagnosed with cancer. And then a really good friend of mine was diagnosed with her breast cancer returned. And so from when my aunt died, we had, trying to think of the order this went. My mom died next. I think it's really, oh yeah, then my friend died, and then my husband's mom died. I think I mean, my dad was really hard to get through, but these were like the matriarchs in my life, the important women that I was so connected to in my life. And when they all were gone at the same time, that was devastating to me. And I didn't know what to do. Because now, like, they did the holidays, right? They did the decorations. They planned, like, what the family's going to do together. And now it all fell on me to figure it out. And I was a little angry, I'll be honest. Like, why did you all go at the same time? Because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. Even though I watched them do it, but I'm like, I'm not supposed to do this. You guys are supposed to do this. So, and then my friend, of course, she was such a soulful person, and she was one that I took so much from. I mean, we went to Europe together, so she was another one who, like, let's do this and let's live this dream, right? So I always looked up to her because of her laughing at everything in life. So yeah, that was tough. And that was like back to back to back. And really, when people talk about like PTSD and like, or when you have traumatic things happen where you don't remember certain details, it's really hard for me to hone in on what year that was, the exact things that were happening. And like, it is very blurry for me, which is really crazy. So it really does impact your mind.
And like coming from like telling, like, did you ever like tell people, I guess maybe parts of that story, and then I guess kind of like, since you did probably have some like trouble honing in on like specifics, did like some people maybe not like believe like some of the story, if that makes any sense? Like, I mean, obviously, like, a death, I guess you could be like, I mean, yeah, that's, you can prove that, but like maybe the specifics
of the stories of like the women dying, or
yeah, kind of like, maybe you said you were like, I was crying for days.
Yeah.
Did like people ever try to tell you, oh well, it's not that bad? Or
oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't remember. I will be completely honest with you. I was just in this place that I was just muddling through and trying to get day to day back into life. I do remember going back to work and I went back to work really soon after my mom died because she was the final. And I emailed my coworkers who I was really close with, and I said, please don't come to my office to ask me questions. I just need to do something normal, something just like mundane, which is work, and not think about that. And so, and I did have a hospice agency call me that took care of my mom, and they were offering bereavement support. And I'm like, I don't, like, you need to stop sending me letters. You need to stop. And looking back, I kind of feel like I was maybe rude. I mean, I didn't yell at them or anything, but I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. It was just too much for me. But at the same time, I look at it and think, you know what, that was a place I was in at the time, and they respected that. I just needed to get back into some normal life. And then I dealt with the losses and stuff. Like, we went to some groups and different things like that. But right in that, I think that if anybody who has a loss, you deal with it the best way that you can. And there's no right or wrong to it. I would caution people to not say, oh, well, it's not that bad. Oh, well, look at the brighter side of things. That happened to my sister. My niece was killed in an automobile accident, and her mother-in-law said, well, it's a good thing now she's in heaven and she's with God. And my sister, and I was there when this happened, and my sister, like, lost it. She said, she was screaming, I'm mad at God. And I just, like, and I think people say things in those moments to try to be helpful. And so I think we all need to keep in mind of that. I don't believe that people say things to be mean or horrible. I think people with death, they don't know what to say, so they just sometimes awkwardly say things that aren't real helpful. But I honestly don't remember if anybody said anything to me after the losses of those matriarchs in my family. It's just very, very blurry for me.
And, like, since it's the new year, how do you think you've changed within the last year?
Oh, gosh. I've learned to, like, I connect with people, but I'm really, like, an introvert. Like, if I could, like, eat a piece of chicken sitting on the couch watching the news or a show, that's me. So really getting out there and meeting new people has been a skill I've had to develop. And so I'm really proud of myself for just putting myself out there and learning. And it's practice. You just got to do it, So, and then speaking in front of crowds, like reading my stories in my book and stuff. That stuff, I would say years ago, would absolutely petrify me. And now I'm just like, you know what? This is part of the gig, and you just got to do it. So.
And what are some goals for you for this year? Or, like, maybe personal goals, too.
Yeah. So this year, I am working with a friend on a possible podcast. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a while and incorporating the funny in life. But I want to I reconnected with her after many years, and she was telling me how she wants to do a podcast, and she's got, all the equipment and stuff. I'm like, seriously, because I want to do this too. But we want to gear it towards women who are 50 and over, and, like, who have gone through menopause, and who are, like, dealing with things like changing careers, reaching for your dreams, all the hot flashes and the gray hair, and, like, but putting the funny spin on it. So we're working on that project currently, and then getting the second book out there, and starting to work with my publisher on the anthology. And I'm also going to be recording, doing audio for my first book. I'll be recording that next month. So people who prefer not to read and they just listen because they're busy, or people who have like things that impact their ability to sit down and read a book, they can listen to the book on audio. And so I'll be personally recording that. And then personal goals, I mean, staying upright and not getting too stressed out.
So say, like, do you have like a certain like maybe morning routine or like night routine that I guess kind of helps set your day?
Yeah, my morning routine includes dragging myself out of bed and getting my coffee, like, and just doing whatever just mundane things in the morning that I do. I am not a writer. There's a lot of writers that get up and they start writing right away, and that's part of their routine. Or they get up and they go to the gym like at 4 a.m. That will never be me. I like my quiet mornings and just to enjoy that downtime. But what I have been doing as of recent is thinking about one thing in the morning that I'm grateful for, having gratitude, because there's scientific proof that if you focus on gratefulness, something that you're grateful for, there's no room for negative thoughts to come in there. And I think it's really important for all of us to look at our lives in crazy and busy and hectic, and looking at what the things that are good in our lives. And so I've been doing that in the morning, and just taking time to take deep breaths. So because that can calm your body, your nervous system, and all of that. So and then my day gets crazy. And then in the evenings, that's when I usually write. My writing routine is once our day is done and everyone's gone to bed, that's when I can sit there in the quiet and be able to think, and my ideas come to me. So that's, they say that there's times where your creative mind starts working, and mine has always been in the evenings. So.
And do you think you're more of a morning person or a night owl?
I am neither. I'm a night owl when I have to be. So if I have to be up 12, 1, 2 to be writing, then I do that. But yeah, I'm neither. I'm kind of like a middayer, like late morning. Like this morning, we just slept in and then started getting stuff done, and we'll probably go to bed at 10 or whatever. So I don't know.
Is it just like kind of like an on the fly thing? Like,
yeah, it really is.
Just day to day.
Yeah, if I have to be at an event for my day job and I have to be, in the car by 6 to get there, then I'm a morning person that day. But but I'm a midday lady. I get stuff done. I can really jam out stuff during the middle of the day.
And then, what do you think your favorite season of the year is?
Oh, gosh. I love summer. And then I do love fall, too. We live in Superior, Wisconsin, and the color change here is just phenomenal. So I love the crispness and the leaves falling and all of that. So I'd say summer and fall are my two favorites.
Does it get really hot there over the summer?
It can. It just depends. Now this past summer, because we live right minutes from Lake Superior, it can stay cooler in this valley area because the winds kind of come off the lake and bring the coolness from the lake. And it can be 20 minutes from here, it can be in the 80s. So, and it'll be 60s here. So, and this past summer we had a lot of cooler weather. which was nice.
Let's see. And then in terms of like, I guess for your writing, do you have like certain tools, like maybe that, you use, maybe not just like a notebook or paper, but like maybe like a writing application or something? Like, do you have like a favorite one?
Yeah, no, I just use Word. I do some writing on paper when I do writing exercises in my classes with Leslie. But when I'm doing like my blog, or which that can be found off my website, it's called What's Mishappening. But when I'm doing those, I'm usually just typing them in the computer on Microsoft Word. What I always have with me is I still have it as my thesaurus from when I was in college and stuff, but now I just use my phone. So I'll just Google, synonyms for the word, I don't know, nighttime. And so I use that to find creative words and expressive words. And then the other tools that I have are, I get books about writing and read those. I think it's like I really try to engross myself in those types of things to learn more from the professionals. I don't feel like we ever stop learning, and I think there's always, if you're going to go into something being a know-it-all, then that's pretty harsh, and you see that on like the American Idol shows or different things where you have people that think they're all that in a nutshell. And those are the people, you have to have some humbleness and some humility, and always be willing and open to learn more to perfect your craft.
And what would you like say to people who I guess think they know it all per se, and just don't feel like, I guess, learning more about their craft?
Yeah, I would encourage them to continue to try to learn. I think that, that might be personality or, how they were raised. I don't know. I think that, I think it's so important to have confidence, self-confidence, and really work on that, but not be overly confident to where you're not open to other possibilities and stuff. You just never know who you're going to meet that you're going to grow from. And so I would encourage folks to just have an open mind to learning from others. And I don't know, like, for some folks who do feel like they're all that if anybody's going to influence them to think differently. So, and it's just how they think. But I mean, I even look at the professionals who, even Leslie still is always learning, and she is like, she's got like 13 or 14 books out there, but she's always like looking into things and trying to learn more about her craft. So,
and then what can people expect from you next?
Oh, just more fun and laughter, and I'm gonna definitely publish more books. I would like to do a book about aging and as a woman. And then I would like to do some memoir books. I have a couple of titles. One is from growing up, and the times of that, and just being really reflective on kind of the differences from back then to now. And then another one, my great grandmother, her name was Missouri, and supposedly she's of Native American heritage. And I've been doing some ancestry research on her and her family members before her. I'm really very intrigued with her. I never met her. She has the same birthday as me, December 24th. And so I would really like to delve into that really deep and try to find her and her heritage. And it looks to be that, like, she had the last name of Devon, and it looks to be that, like, it was during the time of the assimilation. And so I just have to figure out how to do all of that and figure out how to find the ancestry behind that. But I would love to title that one Finding Missouri. And my kids absolutely love that. But that's future projects. I don't want to overwhelm myself, but yeah, those are kind of a couple of ideas, is just delving into some memoir work and some more serious projects, which is a little harder for me to write is serious, because I'm always about, giggling about one thing or another. So.
And then, what is your favorite quote?
Oh, that's a good question. It's so funny that you asked that, because I love quotes, and I have them throughout my book. For each chapter, I have a quote. Oh. There are Disney quotes that I know, and I just can't think of them. One quote that I just love, though, is love never fails. And that comes from a biblical, but I feel like love is really important in our lives. And I feel like if I didn't have the love of my friends and my family and the people who I'm really connected with, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I really feel like when I'm out in public and talking with folks and, like, listening to their stories of their Brinkle box stories, or even just meeting people at stores and stuff, just doing a friendly smile, just showing some kindness. I think that's so important in our world. And so I would say that is one of my favorite quotes. But any of the Walt Disney quotes about living your dreams, dreaming it and doing it, anything about just going for it and living your life to the fullest is, any quotes of that would be remarkable. I just love those.
And then last question, how can listeners support you in your work?
Absolutely. So definitely follow my social media. I'm on Instagram, Gina Ramsey 429, and Facebook. And then go to my website. Again, that's www.ginaramseyauthor.com. You can check out my blog right off my website. And then if you purchase the book, you can purchase Burnt Glove boxes at Amazon, or your local, like, indie bookstores carry it, Barnes & Noble. You just have to order it from them. And you can request a bookmark from me, and then a book plate. I can sign the book plate for you and send it to you, and then you put that in your book as a signature. So just follow me. That's really important for authors, is just to have people, like, checking out what you're doing. And then the other thing too is, if you do order the book from Amazon or even from your local bookstores, get on and do the reviews. The reviews are super helpful. That, you asked me earlier, something that I learned in the year, and that is one thing that I learned that I never really paid much attention to. And those reviews really hold clout and help to move your book up in sales, and help, Amazon or the other, like, book reads. Your book will start becoming more visible to people online, the more reviews that you have. So definitely do those reviews.
All right, and thank you for being on Reinvented today, and thank you guys for watching. And yeah, I'm just gonna end it there.